Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Trail Pass. So this is the new Can-Am Outlander 500. So the G3L is what this is called internally at Can-Am. This model came out for the 2023 and a half model year, let's call it, about halfway through the 2023 model year. So it has been around for a little bit, and you see all sorts of videos on YouTube covering this machine, but most of those are the 700cc machines and like the XMR 700, but very few people cover basically this, a base model. So this is a DPS finished in the camo, so it does have a couple small things added to it, but overall this is the smallest engine choice and kind of a pretty basic machine in terms of Can-Am's lineup, and it is now my machine. So you may remember I did have a Can-Am Outlander 650, G2 650, actually a 2022, the last of those 650 lineups there, and I traded it in on this. Now, we'll talk about the reasons why here in a little bit, but overall, this would be a little bit of a downgrade under normal circumstances, but I really wanted to try out this new G3L chassis. There's lots more on the new G3 now that the 850 and the 1000 models are out this year, starting in 2025. And I really wanted to cover this machine and look for something a little bit different. So if you're interested in this model of four-wheeler, please stay tuned, consider subscribing, and let me know if you have any questions if you're considering a machine like this for yourself. Would love to help you out. So starting the key here a little bit, you can see a pretty basic gauge cluster, actually very similar to what I had on my 2022 650. And everything in terms of the controls is fairly similar. You have your start button, your light switch, kill switch, and your DPS settings and your reverse override. Again, this is a DPS model, so it has the 3-mode power steering that Can-Am's known for. And with the lights up here, let's come around to the front, it's all LED, so a huge upgrade here even on a very, very basic machine. Again, the 500 is now the smallest machine that you can get, and actually it's a 500 output, but truly it is a 650cc single, and that's something new that they're doing now for these G3L models. Both the 500 and the 700 both run a 650cc single, but there's a 40 horsepower output, the 500, and a 50 horsepower output, which is the 700. So one reason I went with the 500, 40 horsepower out of a 650cc machine is pretty good. You know, if you were looking at a Kodiak 700 or even, you know, a Honda Rincon or something like that, those top models only make a little over 40 horsepower, and this is the very, very basic Can-Am smallest output entry level, and it makes 40 horsepower. So also with a 650, we'll get into that with the riding, but that is a fairly big motor for an entry level. So we'll see how smooth it is, see what the torque's like, and go over some of those features here in the riding portion of this video a little bit later. But overall, I feel like this machine looks really nice. Again, this one is the camo, it has the LED lights, a ton of ground clearance on this machine, even for it sitting on 25-inch tires. So nothing crazy in terms of the tires, but it seems pretty well set up right from the factory, and it's certainly not a disappointment for an entry-level machine. So some of the other features here, the G3L does have all steel racks. They're powder coated here, and it has this large cavity here in the rear rack. You can see my helmet there for scale, but really nice if you wanted to carry some kind of chainsaw or some buckets or something like that. A lot of times they would sit down in on this one, where traditionally if the rack was flat, they'd be sitting way up on top and kind of hard to strap down. So I really do like that. Also comes with these link connector points here. All that is factory, I did not add those. You also have a little bit of a glove box here, which is super nice. Not very deep, but it does stay up on its own, and really nice for your gloves or anything like that. Coming around here to the front, you also have this sealed storage. So we'll see if I can open this with one hand. A little bit hard to do with one hand, but again, another huge storage. Does have a little kickstand here to hold it up, and there is where my toolkit is, the factory toolkit. So again, really nice. This door actually does come off if you want to add some different Can-Am accessories, but really nice from the factory to have such a huge amount of dry storage. Moving around here to the rear of the machine, again, tons of ground clearance, even sitting on these stock 25-inch tires. And you can see the exhaust right there. One thing that's new about this type of machine with this new 650cc single is the exhaust comes straight out the back of the block. So normally you would have your exhaust pipe coming out the front of the block, running along this side, and that would really heat up your leg on long rides. Really interested to see how it does. Again, if the exhaust is coming straight out the back and into the muffler, it should be a lot cooler when putting around the neighborhood and that sort of thing. But again, a really solid looking machine, lots of steel on the back of this machine, and really love the way it looks, honestly. It's a kind of minimalistic approach, but a lot of suspension travel, it looks like, a lot of ground clearance. Really excited to get it out here on the trails. All right, guys, so first thing you notice sitting down in this seat is the seat is super squishy, very, very comfortable and soft seat. And the bars, like any other Can-Am, do fall at hand. But even on this little bit of a hill with the machine off, the shifter is remarkably easy to move. So we're in park now, reverse, neutral, high, low. There's none of that old Can-Am rock or shake or whatever you want to call it with these new models. They do have a new clutch and a new transmission, new engine, new everything with this model, and that is a huge improvement over any of the G2 chassis. So we have the key on, we'll go ahead and crank it up here. So a little bit of vibration through the bars with this big single, but nothing out of the ordinary. Again, I've ridden the Yamahas, I've ridden a lot of other machines, and overall this one does feel really refined. So we're in low. Let's go ahead and start off here. Immediate clutch engagement. Yeah, even down to about 3 miles an hour there, it feels like the clutch is still engaged. Two-wheel drive. Yeah, absolutely no problem with this machine. Very, very refined. So go ahead and put it up into high range just to see how that clutch take-up is. Yeah, amazing. Very, very smooth. Turning radius test, full lock. Yeah, no problem. This is a much, much easier machine to ride slow. Honestly, something I was looking for over my 650. The 650 was really a great machine, but for poking around super tight trails, it did feel pretty big and heavy, and honestly pretty hard to ride slow, especially compared to this machine. Engine braking is immediate as soon as you let off. This being the kind of basic level Can-Am, basic cable throttle, not the digital throttle with the different drive modes. And also I don't have the button back here for the different engine braking modes. But going down this little hill here, again, still in high range. Holding me back right at 4 miles an hour. Yeah, super refined, super stable feeling. Even off camber on some of those rocks. Yeah, no issues. Little bit of delay when you first get on it. I think that's just kind of a big single kind of problem. But that's not really much of a problem. I mean, it does feel very healthy in terms of the power. Get this stick out of the way. But yeah, super healthy. Let's get an idea of the exhaust sound. Sounds like a big single, like you would expect. Again, a lot of the Japanese manufacturers do have those big singles, and this seems like it was definitely square set on competing with those. But again, this is the 500, not the 700 output. And honestly, even this 500, the very lowest output new Can-Am Outlander, I think it really competes better with those big singles from the other manufacturers. I'm sure the 700 does have more torque, more horsepower, more everything. Sounds like they do a different tune, different cam. There are some differentiations with that 700 model, but honestly, this doesn't feel lacking in any way. Again, I'm sure if you want to run big mud tires or something like that, it might be a better option for you. But for poking around the woods, this feels perfectly adequate. Super nimble. I might need to soften the cam adjusters there on the suspension. Tight turn here. Yeah, very impressive. Again, this isn't much of a test for this machine. We're just kind of poking around in the woods, but having really a good time here on this machine. So let us know what you think. Is this a good entry-level machine from Can-Am? And how does it compare with the rest of the machines from the other manufacturers? Again, if you have one of these machines or you're considering getting one of these machines, let me know if you have any questions. I'll definitely make a video and try to help you out with your future purchases. But overall, I'm super happy with this machine. I think for an entry-level machine, MSRP of around $9,000, this one was considerably less because it was a leftover 2024. Very, very happy. Again, there are some things that I will be adding to this machine, so definitely stay tuned for all of that. But thank you very much for watching. Have a fantastic week, everybody, and we'll catch you next time.